our work right now on the planet is to bring honoring and sanctity to the invisible just as much as the visible. The invisible results are things like feeling good, things like feeling connected, things like our health, our well-being, a feeling of joy, pleasure.
Embodiment can't be faked. Once you're in an open state where you actually can see through a clear lens, you're not clouded by fear, you're not clouded by the amygdala, you're not clouded by the society's news and all the fear-based stuff, and you're just with you. Then you get to decide where you think we actually are.
It is possible to navigate pain with grace.
Energy is information. We're here to experience the full spectrum.
That worthiness is hard for you. There's nothing wrong with you. It is a muscle that we kind of have to learn how to access. You are not disempowered, and you have power in every area of your life all the time.
I believe that chronic illness is an opportunity for us to heal.
Health, it's a choice. Listening to your body if you so choose.
My prayer for the world would be that they would know the infinite love of God.
Aloha and welcome to the Body and Soul Wisdom Podcast with your host, Jen Mons. Join me each week for soul-inspired, conscious conversations around awakening to your soul purpose through 5-element well-being. Thank you so much for joining in. Aloha, my friends and family. Welcome back to the Body and Soul Wisdom Podcast. I'm coming to you today to share on kind of just give you the high level view of 5 mistakes that coaches and leaders make when hosting retreats. Retreats are something that I've had the honor and the pleasure and the joy of doing since 2014. So almost 10 years. And I absolutely love it. Many of my retreats sell out within just a few days. I've hosted retreats in many, many different places, internationally and locally. I've hosted anything from a one-day private VIP retreat. I've done many of those to retreats with 30 to 35 people by myself, to co-facilitating 30 women or more with one other person, to multiple co-facilitators. I've co-facilitated retreat for men only as a woman. I have co-facilitated retreats for men and women, and most of the retreats I have done, I have facilitated for women only. So I've had a lot of experience. I've hired retreat coordinators to help me with the travel part of my retreats, especially when I did it in Costa Rica. I've done everything from wellness and yoga retreats when I started back in 2014 to evolving to transformational retreats around feminine archetype work, to spiritual business intensive retreats. And I want to start by actually dissecting what a retreat could look like, because I think people say they've been to a retreat or host a retreat, and retreats can look very, very different. So some people will call what I would call a live event a retreat, where you bring in speakers and you sit at a table and you take lots of notes and you have an experience where you probably hear people speak. Other people might create a retreat experience where you come together and you have a lot of fun together. You celebrate. Other people would call a retreat experience something where you gather, maybe in a small group or a larger group, but there's a lot of coaching going on. So you might get your hour in the hot seat. You might get to ask questions in person. So it's kind of like a group coaching 1 to 2 days, but it's in person. What I'm calling a retreat And it can look really, really different. I've done all of these, and there's a common thread within all of my retreats that I'm going to speak to. It's either looked like a wellness retreat, an adventure retreat, or an deep inner alchemy work transformational retreat. The common thread that has always been a part of my retreats is that I create space for inner work and transformation, and also fun and adventure, connection, and stillness. So there's different levels, different types of retreats. There's silent retreats. There are wellness retreats where maybe you go and you're kind of nurtured and taken care of, and you get a massage and you get healthy food and you do some exercise. There are spiritual retreats. There are awakening retreats. Some people like to use plant medicine. There's many, many different levels of retreats. When I'm talking about a retreat, I'm talking about creating a space and inviting people in to create momentum in their life, to transmute what isn't working and create space to move forward. I believe, which is the most powerful work and space that we can provide. It's a really fun place for me to lead retreats in because I've done it so much. I've witnessed so much transformation. That space of like vulnerability and sometimes cathartic release, that all of a sudden it's like, oh, that feels better. Now I'm ready to move forward and really claim the thing that I want. I'm sick and tired of this and that and this and that, and this is what I want. I'm ready to claim it. Those are my favorite. Over the years, as I was coaching women, specifically my private clients, begin to ask, like, how I want to do what you do. I want to host a retreat. I want to become a coach. I want to host a retreat. And so I supported and coached several women through that process, where many women are now leading women's circles or retreats. And it's just such a great, amazing opportunity for connection and to bring women together, and men, if that's what you choose. I do have one client offering couples retreats, which is such a beautiful offering. I have another client offering retreats, women I used to work with, for veterans. So there's so many ways that we can allow our hearts to lead us to a space where we're bringing people together. And this is becoming more and more important because of things like AI, because of technology. Technology is wonderful in the way that it makes our world smaller and helps us to connect with people that like-minded people that we may not have connected with before. And let's just be real, like there's some disconnection in it. But in-person live retreats are so much value to your clients and customers, whether you do corporate retreats, personal retreats. I'm here today to encourage you, if you're a coach, a practitioner, a leader, a business owner, or maybe you're even an executive looking for one, to consider the high value, high return of in-person retreat experiences. Now, today, what I'm going to share with you is the 5 mistakes that I have seen coaches or leaders make when hosting retreats. Number 1 is that they think they can just recreate something that they've experienced. This will never work. Whether it's a program that you want to sell, whether it's work that you want to do, it has to be yours. And going and attending a retreat, first of all, you're not giving yourself full permission to have your own experience if you're going there to learn from somebody else so that you can copy their idea. It'll never work. It won't be in alignment. It won't feel good. You won't fill it. You won't sell it. And even if you do, you may not feel fulfilled. I've seen it happen. And what you need to know is that 80% of what you experience at the retreat was already created before the actual experience. There is so much that happens behind the scenes and it is intentionally created that way so that you can have your amazing experience. So the number one mistake is that they try to recreate something that they've experienced without actually knowing the sacredness of the container that is necessary to host a retreat. Number two is that they don't have what I call the water plan, which is what we use to put out fires. Whether it's a code word, if you're co-facilitating, having that plan in place for the possibility and being trained in the ethics and the boundaries, the liability, understanding all of the potential for emotional dysregulation. If you want to be a retreat facilitator that creates amazing transformational retreats, not just an event that people go to and they network, I'm talking about creating, and you can do it through adventure, through fun, through wellness, having those little components that make people knocking down your door to come to the next retreat, which is the types of retreats that I host every year. After the retreat, people are like, whoa, that was a lot. Like, that was so amazing, life-changing experience. And then they're ready for the next one. You can change the theme, but you can keep a couple of really core, important components of the retreat that provide super high value. If you want to be one of those people, then you've got to have your water plan in place. You have to understand healthy boundaries, have a plan in place, everything to just a plan of action, support, emergency contacts, code words, like the whole thing, whatever it is. More of what we talk about in my retreat facilitator course, but this is something that gets missed. And then what happens is you as the retreat facilitator or co-facilitator, you are most responsible for the energy of that sacred container. And when your energy gets pulled out of alignment, I co-facilitated a retreat with the one time that I gave myself permission to have an event retreat coordinator brought me together with another retreat facilitator who didn't have experience facilitating retreats. And something happened with, we were hosting in Costa Rica. Something happened with the travel plans with a couple of the people who were coming that just completely took my co-facilitator's energy way out of alignment. She wasn't present. And then all of a sudden, a lot more work fell onto my plate. But because I had, at that time, 7 years retreat experience, I was able to take a breath, trust, not allow her to pull me into the whole of what wasn't working. But those are things that can happen. So you can choose to hire a retreat coordinator, which will likely be about 30% of your profit. That is super helpful for logistics. And it's also, of course, there's an investment cost to it. So you just decide at this point in time, I no longer use a retreat coordinator just because I am creating retreats a little bit differently now. I'm creating smaller, more intimate, high-level retreats with up to 10 women. At this time, I'm not co-facilitating bigger, larger groups. So just over the years, that's what works for me. But having that water plan in place to put out those fires is super important. And it might want to consider, especially if you're a coach and you're not a trained therapist, having somebody like that just available as a volunteer or support person. So far we've covered that retreat mistakes that coaches make are trying to recreate somebody else's, not having the support that they need, not understanding that 80% of what happens in the experience is actually creating the sacred space before. So really the energy and intention in creating that retreat, the vision and all of it, having that plan in place before is super important, but also being really adaptable and fluid and flexible. In other words, think of it as like your wedding day or your birth plan, right? Like you have this grand plan that it's going to go this way and it never does. And experience will help build your confidence. So that's the number 4 is the confidence. One of the mistakes that coaches make is not having the experience, the skills, the ethics, the mentorship, the training to have the confidence to actually execute the retreat. So there's a lot of coaches out there that say, okay, well, like a retreat is a part of my program, but they're not actually looking at it as a high value offering for their clients, whether it's corporate or personal. And it's really important to understand the value of what you're providing to be in the energy and integrity and alignment before by creating that sacred container, but also having the confidence to be fluid for that, what we just went through, that water plane when things go wrong. And that's where it can be super helpful to have a mentor or coach to guide you that knows from experience all of these things so that you can have a plan of action for when things come up. Taking the time to really create the intention and the energy for that retreat, but also allowing yourself to remain fluid and adaptable. So what you need is confidence. The confidence to execute, the confidence to apply what you've learned, to put it into action. Mapping out a dream retreat is easy. Anybody can help you do that. We can do that in 4 hours. I have a Build Your Dream Retreat mini course I can walk you through. What separates phenomenal retreat facilitators from just, there's a difference between like going to a retreat and having like a transformational experience. If you want to offer an experience where you, as a coach or a leader, you can charge $10,000 for the retreat, starting there, up to 20, 30, 40 per person, high level. Maybe you start at 5, whatever that level is. In order to have the confidence to do that, to bring in a source, an amplified source of income, of revenue to your business, like I have done, like I help other women coaches to do, you got to have the confidence to do it. So I would invite you to spend some time, invest in some resources that will bring you that confidence so that you can create amazing experiences, and you can also create time and financial freedom, because retreats are a really great way to bring in your annual income through one experience. And when you're at the retreat, you get to invite those people to work with you at an even deeper level. So you just keep expanding that income, which is another reason I love retreats, because in-person experiences are so important. We all seek connection. We all seek to be seen and heard and supported. Given that space in person, providing that environment that feels safe and comfortable and yummy and delicious with good food. Now, I love to hire the best chef. It's really important to me that the environment is amazing, whether we're on the beach or, a Frank Lloyd Wright house or whatever, a chateau in France or the Bodhi Tree Resort in Costa Rica. I'm going for very high level environmental experiences. And then from there, we'll add in some beautiful ceremony in some way through sound healing or movement. I'll bring in experts to facilitate those things to amplify the experience even more. But the thing that you need is confidence. And you get that by being supported or experienced. But if you don't have the 10 years experience that I do in retreat facilitation and you're ready to do one, then I would invite you to check out the link below and let's hop on a call and I'll share with you my retreat facilitator training course. Because in that course, not only will you experience one of my retreats, not only will you then have a second virtual retreat where I'm training you in the ethical skills, the somatic coaching skills, retreat facilitation skills. We're going to go through all of how to handle emotional dysregulation through somatic practices, through the soul wisdom imprinting. Not only will we do that, but your third retreat, you will put into application with me there, supporting you, giving you lifetime feedback. And then we'll the day after, I guess in a corporate world, they would say debrief, but we'll go over what worked, what didn't work, and you will have already gathered everything that you need to everything. And I won't share all of what that includes because I'd rather share with you on the phone, but you will have everything you need to confidently move forward and then do your next one completely on your own. So the mistakes that coaches and leaders are making is they think they can recreate somebody else's retreat. They're not actually prepared. They don't have a water plan. They haven't spent that time, intention, or energy creating the sacred container. They don't have the confidence because they haven't had the support or the mentorship. They don't have actual retreat facilitation skills. They don't understand the difference between how you show up when you're facilitating a private retreat versus a corporate retreat versus group versus co-facilitating men, women, the whole thing. Like there's a different energy to all of those things that when you understand that, you'll have the confidence to fully execute your own retreat, to put it into action, to fully bring it to life. And so that is the fifth mistake that retreat facilitators, coaches that want to be retreat facilitators make, is that they don't have the support or the feedback to know what is next, and they don't have the integration plan in place. So if you are a coach or a leader who is looking to bring in an extra 50 to 100K into your business by providing high-level offerings through transformational retreats, and this speaks to you, or you've been to my retreats, it's something that you want to create on the side. I have a couple of clients I'm walking through right now who are execs, but they want to just create some fun wellness retreats so they can travel with their family for free, create an extra, source of income, 20, 30K a year for vacation. So if any of these speak to you and you're ready to expand your expertise through creating transformational retreat experiences, let's hop on a call and see how I can support you. And if you're hosting a retreat, also let me know, because I love to know about other people's retreats. And as a retreat facilitator, I too love to receive and hear about other people's retreats, because it's important for me to go to a retreat and totally receive and check out and just be the student. So let me know. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you on the pod again next week. Aloha.
The content of this podcast is to educate, inspire, and inform you of pathways to an embodied healing self. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice from your medical doctor, therapist, registered dietitian, or nutritionist for any questions you may have regarding your diagnosis or condition.
Friends, and thank you so much for joining again each week on the Body and Soul Wisdom podcast. I am so deeply honored to share this space with you every week. I know that there are many other podcasts that you could be tuning into, and our community is expanding and growing more with each new episode. I'd like to invite you to come on over to jenmons.com/tribe and receive some of the wonderful gifts that we have for you: a meditation bundle, energetic alignment, 5-element wealth, prosperity consciousness. We have a ton of different gifts available for you to enjoy. Now, we have one small favor to ask. In order for this podcast to get into the hearts and souls of like and light-minded people, we need your support. We would love your review, and would love it if you'd head on over to jenmons.com/podcast to leave a review or leave one on iTunes, so that we can continue to share the love beyond out into the world. Thank you so much again for joining in. We'll see you next week.